Welcome into a brand new edition of the 06010 ESPN Communications Podcast. I'm your host, Alex Fuse, and we are joined by the one and only Steve Levy, ESPN NHL play-by-play commentator and studio host, and also SportsCenter anchor. Steve, thanks so much for joining the podcast today. I know this is a busy stretch for you. You'll be in Tampa this weekend for the Stadium Series, so it's a busy week, so appreciate the time. Walk us through, how excited are you for this upcoming, the 5th Stadium Series here on ESPN?
So this is entirely different, Alex, than any of the previous ones we've done, and mostly because we shouldn't need, parkers and overcoats and scarves and gloves and knit hats. I've never seen two more miserable people than Mess and PK last year in Columbus at Ohio State. And there's an interior joke, and probably made its way exterior now, but I like the studio cold. There was actually a sign in the SportsCenter studio, keep the studio cold for Levy kind of thing. So I do enjoy the cold weather, but I'm all for a little warmth. It's not going to be that cold, though, that warm, by the way, in Florida. It sounds like, for Sunday, forecast could be in the high 40s maybe even. So it's good for the ice, good for outdoor ice in Florida, but it's not going to be warm. It's not going to be a beach theme there.
Well, that's what I was just going to ask you. Obviously, have you checked the weather? Because Tampa, there's a very small percentage of snow in Tampa this weekend. And isn't it fitting that the Stadium Series, out of all the weekends in Tampa, Florida, that you have a chance to have snow? What are your thoughts?
Right. It's gonna be a zoo down there, man. And I mean that in the best way. It's Gasparilla weekend. Wow. Tampa's a crazy place, a lot of fun. It's a great Super Bowl destination too, by the way. And they'll do the right thing at Raymond James Stadium. It'll be outstanding. I'm looking forward to it.
Now, from your perspective, when you're hosting the studio show like this for the Stadium Series, what makes this year's presentation in particular feel different or elevated from your perspective?
Well, that's easy. I think we're going to be on a pirate ship dressed in like pirate costumes. I mean, we've never done that before. And that's a reason alone to tune in. Who knows what PK and Mess will be wearing? So I asked for the Johnny Depp costume myself. We'll see how close I can get to that. But yeah, that's going to be the biggest difference in the presentation. Listen, we try to have a good time with the game, but we're not treating this like another hockey game. We're not, breaking down the second forechecker into the zone, that kind of thing. Look at the power play, the umbrella here and the penalty kill and all that. We're not doing that. We can do that any other night. This is going to be the fun, the festivities of being in an NFL stadium in the state of Florida, early February with what turns out to be an important hockey game on. So it's going to be a great scene. They've all been great, and I've been to all the Winter Classics too for the most part, and so they've just been so much fun. The NHL just continues to hit home runs. They continue to try different things. And again, they were already in Miami. Now, the roof was closed in that one for the Winter Classic. They opened it up for the game, but in the presentation. But there is no roof at Raymond James. And so to create a rink and setting up a tent on top of the rink and then taking that tent away, like Steve Mayer and his group at the NHL, they've done a wonderful job. And I can't wait to see how it all comes out.
Now, you mentioned, obviously, you sound like you guys are really going to be embracing the culture of the Tampa area. What does that kind of bring to a broadcast when you're enhancing a storytelling perspective of embracing that culture?
I think we want to fit in. We want to be part of the whole thing. And the Gasparilla, piece of this is a major piece for people who have not seen it. It's a wild weekend-long party. That's without the outdoor game, and now you just throw us in the middle of it. It will be festive. It will be fun. There will be eye patches and swords. And I think we're going to try to fire the cannons from the pirate ship, as the great voice of the Buccaneers, Gene Deckerhoff, always says when Baker Mayfield, the Bucs, score a touchdown. So our creative folks are just that. They're creative and then some. And it's going to be fun. And that's what I meant before, Alex. We're not breaking down the offside play again. We're going to have a good time. There's a time and a place for that. This is not that time and place. This is about fun. This is about celebrating the sport and having a good time. And we know how to do that at ESPN.
How fun is that for you? Because it just seems like your producers and everyone behind the scenes are like, what are your ideas? And you have that room where you can throw out there, what about if we get a live parrot? What is that
Right,
like for you to get that opportunity to just throw out any idea? And
right.
obviously some of it's not going to pan out or be executed, but how fun is that for you?
It's fun. It gets us out of our comfort level, right? Sometimes you can be so in the weeds on some of these things. You know, they're the third best power play on the road, and
Sure.
again, that's for a different game. Now, listen, Sean and Ray, who will have the traditional call of the game, I don't believe they'll be in pirate attire, but they probably will treat this closer to a traditional big time hockey game. But I don't think that's the role for us in the studio on location there. So it's entirely different, and it's one of those. It's, hey, what can we try here? What can we do? This is our one chance to really be different in the entire season. It's a long season, so this breaks it up nicely, but fun will be the emphasis and some pirate stuff.
You've been connected to the NHL in some way, shape, or form for a very long time now, including calling some of the longest playoff games in history. When you look back at ESPN's current NHL presentation, what jumps out at you as just how far things have grown and accomplished here since you've started here at ESPN?
Well, there's a lot. You know, there's technology, A, and B, there's the analytics piece, which is, really crept into all of the sports now and all the presentations. And we want to be in that cutting edge. You have to keep up with the times. The sports fan is demands it right now, and they're so savvy. They know so much about the games. They invest their minds, their hearts in their teams. And their wallets and their hard-earned disposable income, and maybe sometimes not so disposable. So we owe it to them, the audience, the fan, to provide the best coverage, and I think that's what we strive to do each and every time we go on the air. But like everything else, it has changed over the years. The rough stuff back when ESPN first originally had the hockey deal to now the speed and grace of the game. There's still a place in it for toughness, and I enjoy the odd 5 minute for fighting penalty. The goalie fight we had the other night, I would not be opposed to seeing a goalie fight on Sunday in Tampa. That would be pretty cool. Boston and Tampa Bay, I think the crowd would enjoy it too. But we have evolved in our coverage of the game, and everything is, the athletes themselves are just insanely talented. Everybody is so fast. You can't be less than supremely talented and play. There's no room for a guy on the roster anymore who plays 4 or 5 minutes. It just doesn't work that way. So, we're trying to keep up with it and trying to keep up with the speed and the pace. And it's hard to get those commercials in nowadays. And that's a good thing because the action is so great. There are so many young stars and stars in some, let's say, non-traditional markets. Anaheim's got great young players. Seattle's had some unbelievable winning streaks, and what Macklin Celebrini's doing in San Jose, that probably tops the whole thing.
Yeah. Steve, one thing I did want to hit on in this interview is I got the chance to be kind of a fly on the wall for the Frozen Frenzy this past year. How fun has it been doing those from your perspective?
Yeah, so what I appreciate there is really the cooperation between the league, between ESPN, and really every single member club. Like there are some weird start times,
Yeah.
and in an effort to space out the games, you have to have some odd starting times, and that means either early in your market, and it's tough to get to on a weekday coming from work, or later, which is on a school night, or you got to get to work early the next day. So. It's a tremendous undertaking, I think, but the cooperation shows that we're, between the league, the Players Association, the clubs, ESPN, it just shows that we're all in this together. And it's a great night to celebrate the sport and to just sort of, Butchie and Weeks doing the loop around, on every goal and every place. And on ESPN, we're sort of more traditional, I think. I'd like to flip-flop maybe places one of these years and see what it's like on the other side of that. But it's just cool to be present in every game for every big moment and then to try to catch those live moments as they happen, which is really hard to do. It's the ultimate unscripted show, really. And I think that's what makes it so much fun.
When you joined ESPN in 1993, you've touched almost every property here, right? And you look back at your time here. When you zoom out, what moments or chapters stand out as a true career milestone for you?
So I've been blessed to, back in the day, there were very few people to do studio and play-by-play. For whatever reason, that was a philosophy back then that was really just separate, church and state, if you will. And very few people got, like, I think Mike Tirico and myself might have been the only two for a long time that were able to do both. And there was a point in time I was given the choice. I could only do one. And I said, all right, what am I going to do here? And I wound up going studio, and then things opened up later down the road, years later. So
why did you choose studio at that point?
that's a great question. And the truth of it is, I was not going to choose studio. I was going to stay with the football play-by-play. I was doing college football at the time. And I'm like, okay, college football season's really short. That's 4 months. What am I doing the other 8 months of the year? And I didn't like some of those other options. I said, you know what, I'll stay in studio. And look, SportsCenter's always been home, right? SportsCenter has always been home base. To me, it's always been the franchise of ESPN. It's always been the foundation. I've been lucky for all these years to have really the best seat in the house, and that's been behind the SportsCenter desk. So I've never lost my love for that, and now getting to do SportsCenter from some of the big events is really cool. But so that's been one of the key points for me, being able to do both, to experience both. And Alex, the behind the scenes part of that is, I think, really every SportsCenter anchor should have that opportunity. And I've preached this before, and I've told young anchors as they come up, listen, it's really easy to be cute and clever and poke fun at these professional athletes when they make bloopers or slip-ups or mistakes when you're wearing makeup sitting behind a desk in Bristol, Connecticut, as opposed to when you have to face these people now in the locker room after a tough game or after a morning skate. And SportsCenter's on the loop nonstop at all these locker rooms of every sport. And so me being able to then go out and go to these games gave me a great appreciation. And I've never been really one that, it was never my style to take shots, but I definitely reined it in a lot. I said, hey, listen, I'm going to see these people, these coaches, these players. And so, if I'm going to be critical, sitting behind the desk in Bristol, my philosophy has always been, hey, I got to think that they would admit to making a mistake themselves, before I would take a shot at anybody that way, even in fun. So that's given me a great appreciation. It's reined things in. You got to see how hard these guys work. And it's really tough when you're behind the desk in Bristol and you don't get to get out. And so to all the young people out there, and that's not just at ESPN, but anywhere, go see how hard these guys train. Training camp in the NFL, spring training in baseball, just all around the camps and how hard these players work. And then, we focus on a 10-second mistake they might make in one game out of 82 or whatever it might be. And so, in fairness, have to have some perspective there.
What's the biggest difference between studio and play-by-play?
Preparation is very different. I'll tell you that. And even the sports themselves, the play-by-play is very, very different. Play-by-play for football and play-by-play for hockey are entirely different. Football's so structured, right? A whistle is coming, stoppage, time for your analyst to jump in. Football, you get a lot more help in the booth. There's spotter there to help you out. And in hockey, you can't have a spotter. The game is too fast. I don't have time in hockey to look down and see what they're spotting too, because there'll be a goal scored down the other end. So in football, I found myself calling the games mostly off these giant monitors because, these are giant stadiums. And why should the fan at home have a better seat or vision of it than I do? It's hard to see if did the ball come out? Was a flag thrown? Did he fumble? Was there a punch thrown? So I started going to the big monitor to help me call football. In hockey, you can't do that. Now you're in a much smaller facility. But, one long pass, one quick pass, you're out of the screen anyway. And so it's entirely different. The difference in preparation I find between studio and play-by-play, when doing play-by-play, I know everything there is to know about the two teams. And that's it. I focus my entire week on those two teams. And when I'm doing studio, I find, you know what, I'm going to widen out the lens a little bit. And I've got to be prepared for every game that's going on that night around whatever league it might be, because that becomes more of my job. But I'm asking different questions of the analyst in game when they've got 25 seconds to speak, as opposed to, let's say, PK or Mess. Now when they might have a minute and a half. We might have 3-4 minutes to talk about a particular play. And that does not happen in a play-by-play scenario. So there are many differences, even sport to sport, many differences. But I enjoy the challenge, and that gets back to the versatility. I like to think I'm able to do a lot of different things, hopefully one or two of them well. And that's been given me great pleasure and been among my greatest loves, really, at ESPN.
Since you've been here, who would you say maybe gave you the best advice about and just how you can just grow in your career here?
You know, when I started, it was a very intimidating place to come into. When I started, I don't think there was ESPN radio. ESPN2 was just starting, so there really wasn't. There was like no training ground. There was no ESPN news. There was no place to sort of a soft landing and get in. When I got there, it was bam, you're on SportsCenter, you know, and so that was very intimidating. Started early on, you know, the people of my era, when we all came to sports, we all wanted to be Keith and Dan, or Dan and Keith, right? Those Dan Patrick and Keith Olbermann. We wanted to be those guys, and so you come in and you try to take something from either one of those, and you very quickly realize I'm never going to be as good as Dan and Keith are at anything. And then you sort of settle in and find your own niche, you know? And so they were great with, both of them were really great with me, and they could be intimidating presence. But both were, I don't know, maybe they took a liking to me, or for whatever reason, I found both were great to me. I got to work with, you know, Charlie Steiner. I shared an office with Robin Roberts in the very beginning. Chris Berman to this day is a dear, dear friend. And, you know, Boomer's advice, and Boomer did like 1 or 2 sports centers a year, and for some reason I always wound up next to him. I'd like to think he asked for me, which would be really cool. And he would always say, you know, 5 seconds before we hear the air, they're counting down, "Hey, Leaves, don't bleep it up." I'm like, "Okay, Boom, thanks. That really put me at ease, so thanks for that." So I've been around a lot of the, you know, Charlie Steiner was great to me back in the day, and Chris Myers, and Gary Miller. And I've been super close friends with all of my guys, all of my partners over the years. And I don't want to name them because I'll leave somebody out. But anyway, it's just been so good. I miss John Anderson to this day. He's doing his thing. He's teaching a professor at Mizzou now, but we shared so many late nights together. And so it's been a blessing, man. Alex, the whole thing has been a blessing. The best decision I ever made in my life, other than having my 3 kids, of course, was to leave New York City and go to ESPN. It's been a blast.
Steve, my last one for you before we get to the Fast 5 round.
Sure.
One piece that Barry Melrose taught you about the sport of hockey that always sticks with you.
You know, Barry, you bring up Barry, it tugs at my heartstrings, man. He's taught me so much about the game, but he's really taught me so much about life. Like, you know, people who know Barry and the coach and all that stuff, you think he's just a hockey guy. Like, he's so much more. He's so well read, history buff, movie buff, was always reading a book, and the commercial is the most fascinating man, right, on the planet, kind of thing. That's kind of who Barry Melrose was, and to this day he remains one of my closest friends in the world. And you know, he taught me a lot of things about life. You know, he believes if you're 5 minutes early, you're on time. He's a real stickler for being on time. And I wasn't always on time early in my career. He had to spend a few minutes in the lobby waiting for me at some various hotels and stuff. So, but I got that right from him. And Barry is also known for, hey, put the puck on net, good things will happen, right? One of those things. So he's got so many phrases. He's just the best guy in the world, and I love him, and I miss him dearly. And I get to talk to him on the phone. I saw him a couple months ago. I visited him. People always ask about him, and he's fighting the good fight. He's doing the best he can. He's got a great support system. He's surrounded by a terrific family, and he loves his grandchildren, that's for sure.
That's awesome. Good to hear he's hanging in there.
Yeah.
Steve, my favorite part of any interview I do is to fuse Fast 5. It's 5 quick questions. Are you
all
ready?
Right? Let's go.
Ready?
Yeah, right. I don't know if I'm ready. Yeah.
All right. Well, just last week, it was a 20-year anniversary of the Kobe Bryant 81-point game. You were alongside Stuart Scott on SportsCenter for that moment. One, it's a two-part question, even though I know that's not what you're supposed to do.
No.
Were you surprised by the outreach and the viral videos of last week? And two, what was that night like for you behind that desk?
Not surprised, because I feel like every year it is brought up. The anniversary, the annual anniversary every year. The fact it's 20 just means we're really old and it's been a long time. But no, my phone just blows up on the X and people sharing on social media every single year on that day. And I remember thinking, this is all about Stuart Scott. It's very close. It's Kobe, Stewart, and then, I'm somewhere falling down by the wayside. But, you mentioned some of the things in my career, like one of the great privileges was to sit next to Stuart Scott for so many big shows. And a lot of those shows were choreographed, meaning, hey, we're doing the 25,000th SportsCenter. We're doing the first show on the new set, the last show on the old set, and Stuart and I were always there. And they were there for the Super Bowl shows. We did a bunch of those post-game shows. So Stuart and I always seem to do those big post shows, but that was just a random, I think Sunday night, but it was a random night, and it happened to be the Kobe game. And, you knew Kobe was capable of that. I don't know about 81, but you knew he was capable of great things every single time he went out. And I was just glad I got to sit next to Stuart and watch the magic that was Stuart Scott that night alongside Kobe.
When did you realize at that night that something special was happening?
I think we kept buzzing, right? It just kept buzzing around the news. He's up to 30. Wait a second. It's only, it's a second quarter or something, whatever it was. And I think we were always locked into the Lakers anyway. There's the national appeal, the superstar that is Kobe Bryant. Like whenever those guys played, we were always on high alert. But the number, wait, he's at 50. Wait a second, 50? How much time's left in the game? That kind of thing. And so it just started percolating and percolating. And really, I think I might have said good evening, and then I sort of gave it to Stuart and got out of the way, and he really ran with it. So that's much more about Kobe and Stuart. I was really along for the ride that night.
Your favorite This Is SportsCenter commercial you were ever a part of?
All right, that's a really good one. And I've been in a lot of them, and I'm not funny, by the way. Also, like I'm really the straight guy most of the time on the real TV, but they made me funny in some specific ways. So the best one for me, and it's not the most popular one, but for me was with CC Sabathia, and he's in and Scott Van Pelt walks in a fat suit, and the point is Sabathia is in the Yankee pinstripes, and the pinstripes are slimming, as we all know, okay? So that's the whole presence for the goof, and Van Pelt comes in a giant fat suit with pinstripes and all that kind of thing. I must have busted it up 25 to 30 times just by myself. I just couldn't. Every time CC and I are on our back, we turn around, Van Pelt walks in, and I could not. I'm sure people were getting annoyed because I was making the day very. I could not get past it. And if you look at some point, they had to shoot it differently because they had to get past my original look because I couldn't. I'm covering my mouth, I'm biting my lip, I'm doing everything I can. And Sabathia was so good. He was so good throughout it all. And Van Pelt's obviously hysterical and great at it. And the goof was Sabathia had a line. He said, I think we should have the pinstripes on the road gray uniforms. And that didn't make the air. And of course, the Yankee road uniforms do not have pinstripes. They're just the grays with New York across the front. But anyway, that was probably my favorite. And there were many, many other stories, but that was a great one.
Oh, I remember watching that one. It's a classic.
Oh, yeah.
One moment at ESPN, it still gives you chills.
It was the late 90s. We went to Camp Arifjan. We took SportsCenter on the road to Kuwait. I've always been a really patriotic guy, I think. And we took the show on the road for a week, and to see the outpouring of love and support from our servicemen and women in uniform who were there to embrace us and our visit. Like we were just trying to give them a nice week, some sense of home, some sense of normalcy when they were so far away from home and normalcy. And, it was just a love fest off camera. Like, hey, they were telling us, and Stuart was there with me too, and Kenny Mayne, Sean Salisbury, a bunch of us out there. And they were saying to us, thank you so much for what we do. And we're like, no, we're here to thank you for what you guys are doing. Like, in the appreciation of the conditions that they had to work in and live in. It was 120 degrees there, every day, and the sand just flying and the humidity in and out. And so, this wasn't the movies, man. This was the real deal. We got to, eat with them every single day. And so that, to this moment, if I go on to broadcast a Super Bowl, just for example, like, this will be the ESPN moment I'll always remember, being with our troops. It was our Bob Hope moment, which will be lost by that reference on some younger people. But it was just an amazing gesture. I was so happy to be chosen to go there and to do what we did and see what we saw. I've never lost the appreciation for that. And again, for our military, I give them everything for free. Anybody who serves our country in that regard, day and night, what they have to go through, and their families too. Give them everything for free forever.
That's incredible. One piece of advice you'd give 22-year-old Steve Levy at Oswego State.
Yeah, and it's a piece of advice I still give today, young people that want to be in the industry. Don't turn anything down. Don't turn down. Now, within reason, within legal means, obviously, within good moral judgment, but when you're starting out in the industry, and I feel like I was coached up this way, and I probably did this. You might get an assignment to cover a sport that you're really not interested in. You don't like that sport. Do it. Take it. Say yes. I am all in. Make that assignment your favorite assignment. Make that sport your favorite sport for as long as you are covering it. And the point is, because if you don't, and you utter the two letters no to somebody, someone else will get that opportunity, and you never know where that's going to go. Well, that door opens, you meet somebody, they take a liking to you, they take you with them someplace else, and that's how the industry works, and that's the best piece of advice I give young people. Again, using moral judgment within legal means, do not say no. Your answer should be yes to virtually anything when you're coming up in this business and just starting out.
Really good advice. Really good. And I echo that too. Complete this sentence. After over 30 years at ESPN, what is Steve Levy still chasing?
That's a really good one, and I have the answer for you. Okay. And it's an easy one, and I can't get it done. And I've gone to the bosses on this one, and I can't get it done. I want to do an NBA game. I would like to do one NBA game. Give me a bad West Coast NBA game on ESPN radio. I don't care. I want to do an NBA game at some point in my career. I've been very fortunate to do the NFL, college football, hockey. People don't know this. There was a period where I did baseball. I did like 7 baseball games, 7 Major League Baseball games over a course of 2 years. July 4th, that kind of, when we had 8 games, they needed guys, and so they threw me in there. And so I'm not sure how many guys or women, I'm not sure how many broadcasters have ever broadcast play-by-play for the Big Four on ESPN. And that would be an opportunity to potentially be the first, I think. I'm not sure. Tirico's done it, but not all at ESPN, I don't think. Like, it's very few guys have done the Big Four, as I call it. So that's the one thing I'm missing on my resume. I'd still like to make that happen. I'm not planning on going anywhere for a while, so maybe I have a few more years to make that happen.
All right, well, I can't wait to read the press release that you're calling the first ever NBA game on ESPN.
Yeah, that'd be great. I look forward to that.
Steve, this has been so much fun. Thanks so much for your time. I know it's a busy week for you. I'll be watching this weekend in Tampa for the Stadium Series. Safe travels down to Tampa, and thanks again for your time today.
All right. Thanks for having me on, Alex. Keep up the great work. I'm a fan too, buddy. Thank you.